It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I wasn't sure what your technology.
Okay. That's good enough?
it does make more sense out there.
Yeah, that's what you like. Yeah.
More exercise today. Here comes Lisa.
So others may see someone eating a cookie. I see the start of a protein kinase cascade reaction.
Okay. I'm telling her to go next, and yet it's my slide. So, well, we're here today to talk about why do students study STEM? That's the big topic here at the conference. And the sad fact is that we really don't know why kids study STEM. There's no mechanism to do scientific research when kids actually start to develop their interest in STEM. The National Educational Technology Plan has actually called for a complete reinvention and rehaul of our educational system so that we can have better mechanisms to assess what's going on. But the sad fact is right now that Google and Facebook and Amazon.com likely know a lot more about your kid and what their interests are in STEM than you as a parent or as a teacher know about your students. So what we have today and before us is a representation of a whole range of perspectives. Everyone that you see before you, we all have a passion for STEM. And we wanted to share with you our experiences with STEM. We have high school students, we have grad students, we have industry professionals, we have teachers, all gathered here today to sort of share with you their learning in STEM and what motivated them. So
So my name is May Gache. I'm an 11th grader at AITE, which is the Academy of Information Technology and Engineering, which is a high school in Stamford, Connecticut. So these beautiful pictures here are pictures of my school and students and different activities that we've done. So I was very lucky. I go to a great school, I have great teacher support, and I have great family support as well. And for me, it's really easy to get lost in things. But now I have structure with my family and with my teacher support. And as you can see, we do a lot of different things. We have broad applications and hands-on activities, which are all things that can help you understand what's going on. A lot of times, kids feel lost. It's complex. Science is quirky. STEM is quirky. That is a fact of life. But life is quirky as well. And for some people, it's too complex to swim through it, or they'll drown. But for me, when I see I have structure with school, or if I can stay after in school, if I can go check out the new PCR machine, if I can go volunteer in a hospital, if I can go forge new connections and relationships, so I can go out there and understand stuff. It's not just about seeing what's on the paper and memorizing it. It's about understanding what you're doing and why it matters. If you don't know why it matters and what you're doing, then it's really going to get lost on a lot of kids, including me. So that's why I think that moving through this with especially applications such as knowing why I need to know what a PCR machine does, what is a gel electrophoresis doing, and hands-on activities. As you can see, through literally dissecting and checking out bones in the arm, you are learning CPR and AED, all of this with actual professionals. This is how I am interested in STEM, because I, continuing on with insulin at a board, regulate my pathways in STEM, just like insulin.
Good afternoon. My name is Ortiz. I'm also from the Academy of Information Technology and Engineering in Stamford, Connecticut. So first of all, I want to ask you all adults. So what influenced you to actually become what you are? Either a doctor, a teacher, or an engineer. What influenced you? For me, it was a STEM-based approach. STEM-based, which means that the influence began when I was younger, but it majorly happened when I was in middle school. In middle school, there's a requirement in order to graduate 8th grade. And in doing so, we had to do it based on a STEM-based technology. And I am very interested in medical science and technology and engineering. So I was like, what will I do? So I was thinking about the heart, the kidneys, and that's when I struck the kidney dialysis. There's artificial heart, but there's no artificial kidney. So might as well go with this interesting topic. And when going with this interesting topic, it took 6 months to do research. I actually did a 3D model, presented it in front of my peers, my teachers. It was very scary at first because I was like, how am I going to finish this in 6 months? I was barely an 8th grader growing in my adolescent years and going to high school. How was I going to do this? A 14-year-old. This was crazy and beyond my imagination. But then finally, when I pursued with all the help of my family and the strength of them, and also following the STEM-based approach, I don't know, it's just a feeling that's so grand, and actually to perform this big STEM approach project. And when doing so, that's when I found my calling. I found my calling of engineering, medical science. That's what interested me so much in becoming a biomedical engineer and someday helping worldwide patients who are suffering from kidney failure. And I want to become part of that group that can someday help people, especially with the artificial kidney. I'm so interested in that topic. And then when doing so, right now there's the constant perception of there's no equality between girls and boys in the career field, especially in STEM-based approaches. With that perception, I want to break that glass ceiling and that barrier, and one day become that small group of women, which is going to expand over time and reach that limit of equality with men, and having STEM-based careers throughout their life, and finally make change equally as men and across the world someday.
Hello everyone, my name is Theresa. I'm a graduate student from Columbia University. I study statistics. After many students struggling with some, including me, it's not easy for us to face the challenges and persist in what we're learning. And I think to face the challenges and persist in what we're learning, building the interest is very important. Frankly speaking, statistics is not that interesting, nor is it easy for me. But the reason why I studied and persisting is because I find the big picture of what I'm learning. To tell you the truth, I have to suffer through a lot of difficult concepts, complex calculation, and computer programming. But I see the vital role in applying this in so many different fields, like finance, healthcare, and even music industry. You can imagine that we can apply statistics in music industry. So I find the big picture. It helps me to build an interest and see why I study it. I can give you another example of a student who gave up saying, it was me. Initially, I chose to study physics. I spent every day studying hard without understanding what I can do in the future with what I was learning. So eventually, unfortunately, I gave up and lost my confidence. So I want to share with you that I think firstly, students have to understand that the learning process can be boring and difficult and sometimes. But understanding the big picture of what it
everyone. I'm Piliouras, now a graduate student at NYU, major in information systems. Today I'm going to show you my story that why confidence, grades, and time management are essential to us. First of all, confidence. In my way, confidence can encourage us to believe that we can succeed. In my case, my high school life was pretty the same as shown in the first picture, which was very boring and demanding. After 3 years, I survived and went to college. At that time, although I had no knowledge in computer science, I chose it as my major for my interests. But more importantly, I had confidence that I could succeed in that major. Because if I could succeed in my high school life, why not this? Second, grades. In my way, grades is the passion and perseverance to long-term goals. It's sticking with those goals day in, day out, and working really hard to make them reality. In my case, I plan to study abroad 4 years ago. To achieve this, I worked really hard for years to become the top students in my class, and I also need to take GRE and TOEFL test that we international students are required to take many times. The point is that every time I failed, although I was disappointed, I went to grades. I did not choose to give up my goal. Finally, time management. I think time management can enhance our productivity. And many times we have to balance our schedule. Say this week, I feel very challenged because besides my demanding graduate study, I also work as a technology intern, and I also need to prepare today's presentation. But with time management, I can avoid wasting my time by spending it purposely. So in summary, I believe those qualities are pretty important for us, particularly those study STEM. So I think for students, they should improve those qualities intentionally. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Raymond. I'm an engineering and information technology professional. When I was in high school, I had excellent math and science teachers. So because of that, I was able to learn the concepts in math and science very well. And also because of that, I was able to develop confidence in STEM. My father is an engineer, and a lot of my math and science teachers have worked as engineers in the industry. So from them, I was able to get early exposure to engineering and also find out what engineering is all about, what they do in the real world. Over time, I learned that working hard and being detail-oriented are important qualities to be successful in STEM. So I think ethics need to be taught as a part of the STEM education.
Hi, I'm Jean Lauer. I am a teacher and a founding member of the committee that put AITE together. You've seen some of our excellent students, and you know what we provide for them is a lot of hands-on education. We're project-based. We, 15 years ago, began with the concept of being a school for the 21st century. And 15 years later, we're still talking about teaching students 21st century skills, teaching them how to think. The best way to have students think is to give them the problem to solve. And our problems are solved many times, many different ways. We have our biomedical program, we have our Project Lead the Way engineering program. I personally teach Cisco networking, and I also teach accounting, and math is across all of these curricula, and many students are not confident in their math, and I keep trying to work with our math teachers to have them embrace applications, because it's only by applying the skills and the basic foundations that they've learned that they will continue. We start with basic classes, a lot of exploratory with all the students as freshmen, and as they continue on in the classes, they do end up senior year with a capstone project, similar to what Julie mentioned from her middle school, and they will spend time to develop their own products and what they'd like to do a presentation using the technology. With the one-to-one initiative that we have, students are able to take their work with them and do it anywhere at any time, and we also have the virtual high school program, so if we don't offer the class that they're looking for, they have the opportunity to get it elsewhere. They're stuck with me, but that's okay. So I'm very proud of our school. I'm very proud of working with Theresa, Dr. Piliouras, and for her approaching us and working with her in terms of offering so much more activity and opportunity for our students.
Well, I'm Theresa Piliouras, and I'm a researcher and IT professional. You'll see in this picture here my beloved math teacher receiving a national award. One of the things that we've heard from others here is the importance of having excellent teachers. And by some marvelous good fortune, my high school math teacher is one of the foremost authorities on how to teach math to high school students. Here he's receiving a lifetime award from the National Council of Teachers who teach math. And he's won innumerable awards. He's an emeritus professor at University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. Prior to having him as my math teacher, I really had no particular interest in math, and with him it was just like, oh, this is so neat, I can do this, and I can do this, and I could envision figures in three-dimensional space. But I also thought, you know, this is the most wonderful thing that I've ever experienced. This is so much fun, it's so logical, but it's really useless. I can't see ever getting a job, I can't see any value to this. I would take math classes in college because it was my easy A. I have a real passion for math, but I couldn't see any value to it. And it wasn't until I was in graduate school and I had wonderful professors who opened my eyes to the fact that mathematics pervades every aspect of life, decision-making and so forth. And at that point I embraced operations research, which is all about optimization theory, and I embarked on a career where I consulted in almost every industry that there is, because everyone has a need for good decision-making and optimization. So, you know, for me, the key was having good professors and a good support. So, when we were thinking about what do we need to do to help generate interest in STEM in America, we recognize that although there aren't any easy solutions, when you look at the country as a whole, it's really very daunting when you look at the statistics. But on the other hand, one of the things I find so inspiring about everyone here is that they just did it. They are exceptional, but they're also average in some sense in that they are a school and they have their resources, but because they have this culture of innovation and just do it, they are successful. And so what I really see holds back a lot of schools is just this adherence to doing things the old way, which has been done for hundreds of years. And this is so exciting for me to work with Genie. She has this approach with her students: go, do, try, and she's willing to do the same thing as is her professor and the rest of the school. Just try to do new things, and that allows us to explore and to develop programs such as this. So I think, in summary, one of the common dimensions that we were all talking about is the human dimension. Even more important, perhaps, than learning the subject matter is knowing that you've got people there who can inspire, excellent teachers, mentors who can support you and can encourage you when you fail. We'll all fail at some time, but then you need somebody who's going to say it's not the end of the world. You can recover from this, and you can go forward. And so, and there were personal qualities that our team talked about that need to be encouraged, nurtured, and developed in students if they're to succeed in STEM. And so, you know, we feel that that's an important dimension to consider when you're designing a STEM program. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question. How did all of you folks get together? I'm a little confused. So this PCR Inc., right? Is that what it's called? So you help?
So what happened, it was just like an amazing confluence of things. Genie is an extraordinary teacher. I have a passion for understanding why kids learn and how do they learn and measuring it. I'm an IT person. I build systems that collect data, and I'm obsessed with doing that. And so I won't go into all the details of how we did that, but
She was a guest speaker at our school and in my class, and we started talking afterwards.
actually that is true.
Yeah.
That it was a junior achievement,
Mm-hmm,
and I was talking about the meaning of democracy.
mm-hmm.
And I was saying, you know, democracy can be anything that we want it to be, and it's what it is now is not what it was with Adam Smith. But Genie is, she says, is one of her grand skills is ideation, and we started brainstorming. She said, you know, we're so constrained. We have Common Core, we've got all these budget constraints, and we've got all these exceptional kids who need to have an experience beyond what we can normally offer. And so we came up with the idea, let's do best we can be. So we started this back in 2011 as a summer program, and it's totally online. So what happens is students log in, and we have webinars with experts who talk about something. We do a hands-on activity that sort of gives them insight on what it's like to be in that career. And we're teaching things that we know that they're interested in because Genie helps us do school-wide surveys. We ask the kids, what are you interested in learning? And we show them what they want. And so behind us, how do we make this program work? So we have a couple of students here, Julie and Meg. They look so mature that you probably wouldn't know if they were a grad student or not. But
I mean, for example, speaking of online solutions, I mean, I take a VHS class with Ms. Lowry, and when I signed up for my APs, it was Ms. Lowry, and I can take AP statistics. I mean, I've tried and I failed classes. I mean, that's just how life is. But now, with good teachers, good programs, I can be the best I can be.
thank you. And so some of the other people that we have here, how do they have the connection? So we have Julie and Meg who are partaking of our program, and they're also helping to design it because they're always giving me feedback. Oh, I wish that we had this. I don't like this as much as I like this. So we learn from them. We have Yue and Xian, who are statisticians, and they're helping to develop the assessments. It's very difficult to do really hardcore research when your programs are self-selected, and you can't have the randomized control groups the way you want, but there's power in numbers. So they are helping us to develop statistical measures and tests. We have Kuhn, who's helping us to develop content for our Best We Can Be program, so part of the educational experience is part of our guest speaker. I have my colleague Raymond, who's integral part and in charge of the technology infrastructure. So supporting all this is a learning management system that organizes all the materials, all of our activities, have videos that we record for the students. We have a lot of security, we have assessments, and he's making all that happen. We're also working with organizations that are in third world countries like Kenya, where we're trying to get computers for the kids. Right now, they don't have running water in their classroom, don't have pencils and paper, so it's a bit of an effort. But we actually, believe it or not, are able to do surveys and content delivery because almost everybody has a smartphone. So we're trying to optimize the delivery of everything that we do on smartphones, and that seems to be working. So Raymond is behind the scenes making all that happen. So
is something about many schools, or because I see people from AITE? Right?
yes, we have many schools. We have schools from around the world that we're interacting with. And I'm trying to get more. We just started back in 2011, so I'm talking with a bunch of other schools in Connecticut, and we're planning summer school programs for them.
We're the beta test run.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's probably a longer
And it
answer
works.
than you wanted, but it's amazing how we all came together.
Well, you were, and Polly as well.
Oh, that too.
Well, that's where you met people.
That's right. I was a professor at Polytechnic Institute of NYU, and I met Raymond was doing research. We were analyzing health information technology, and that was one of the connections that we had. I was trying to do consumer reports type valuations of the hundreds and hundreds of software packages that are out there The doctors are being forced into using it. There's over a 50% failure rate. It's very expensive. It causes a lot of stress. And what I discovered is if you have a brilliant grad student, they can take the worst piece of software ever written and learn it and be as happy as a pig in mud. And yet a doctor or a nurse might make critical errors in a clinical situation that could be very serious. So I had approached Genie and asked, would your technology students and your pre-med students be interested in giving us feedback on these software systems so that we could better understand user interface and design issues. But it really didn't work very well because they didn't have enough technical background and they didn't have enough medical or terminology background to make it work. And then we started brainstorming, and the end result then was best we can be. So that's like the whole gory story of how it came into being.
It's really interesting, and we apply in Nottinghamshire University the similar, which is called HE STEM, Higher Education STEM, and we got like a partnership from some biggest company there, and apply like workshop, and there's like filtration for the student come to interviews to increase their chance to get placement when they finish. And they go through the processing, build the CV and these stuff, and before Christmas time, which is the terms finish, we applied the workshop, which is 10 days, give them challenge, and bring the student from different fields, chemistry, biology, engineering, and computing, everything, just divide them to some groups and ask them to this real challenge we have in the company and solve it. And in the end, they present their idea, and they learn during these days lots